Oh, what's up, you beautiful fuckers? It's E3 2019, and we've once again brought the show back from the dead to discuss and break down the conferences as they happen, when they happen, with a little delay for us to actually record a podcast and put it up and do all of those things. But that's fine. You don't need that. It's all good. I am joined, as ever, by the big man over there, Mr. Lewis Crawford.
What an intro.
What an intro.
Hello.
Beautiful.
And joining us, a new addition to the podcast, and if Game of Thrones is anything to go by, he'll be killed off by season 6 or disappointing by season 8.
World premiere.
Nathan Duell. Hello. Would you like to be Nathan Duell? Nathan Doodle? Nathan Duell?
No, I'll be anything as long as you put a fanfare in the place where I actually did a fanfare. That'd be great.
There's no editing happening.
Yeah,
to this,
no.
but when we, if and when we record more, sure.
Then a second.
So it's E3 2019, and as is tradition around these parts, what we are going to do is break down every one of the conferences as they happen, when they happen, going through chronologically with the biggest announcement to the biggest announcements from the start to the end. Two things to note here. We are not going to say every announcement, because as Xbox made very clear here, there were 60 games. And
60 games.
Not all of them deserve talking
maybe
about.
3, but okay.
Yeah. So that's a thing. And additionally, we're not doing anything for Devolver Digital this year. Their conference tends to be a mix between the indie stuff from PlayStation and the PC gaming show. As PlayStation on here and Kind of Funny have a much more kind of general indie-centric focus, we're doing them instead. So that's your housekeeping stuff. Microsoft just blew the doors off E3, if you can call it that. This is their conference. Gents, how do we feel about it?
You know, it kind of started off good.
Yeah.
But I think the maybe we can get down into it a bit more later, but
Yeah.
the big thing that was missing in my eyes was just actual gameplay. Actual gameplay.
The big
footage.
thing that was missing was substance of any form.
There was lots of CG.
Yeah, there was a lot of CG trailers, as sort of tends to be their MO. What did you think, Mr. Duell?
Yeah, I agree actually. Lots of more show based stuff. So yeah, CG animations. I think we saw some gameplay for some of the indie games that flickered on our screens for 10 seconds. That was probably about it, I think.
Classic MS move.
Yeah. So the way we work through the show is chronologically from the first announcement to the very last, and we started this show off with Obsidian's new game, The Outer Worlds, which actually looks really cool. When it was announced and was kind of just another Obsidian RPG, I was a bit sort of hit and miss on it, but this trailer really sort of made me kind of love it. It had this vibrant sci-fi thing going on. It kind of it felt a bit. There's another game that it reminds me of that I can't bring to mind right now, but I can fuck with this. It was kind of alright.
Fallout?
Bioshock, that was it. It had a definite Bioshock.
I'd never heard of this game actually, and like you guys, both of you were throwing around your ideas as it was on screen. Yeah, then you said Bioshock, and I was like, yeah, it looks very Bioshock, and then Cam said Fallout. I was like, oh well, it's definitely not, but I see where you're coming from. Maybe it's just a gorgeous blend of both, and we'll all be pleased.
Like, the thing is that they made Fallout New Vegas and had to deal with kind of the problems that engine brought, let's say. I'm quite excited to see what they can do without it being kind of tied to that.
Yeah, I agree. Obsidian have been pretty well known for their good grasp of this kind of thing and good tech in general, and if it's not tied to Bethesda's broken mess of an engine, yeah, it looks like they can do some really, really cool stuff, and I'm glad that this game is being supported by Microsoft, because it's the kind of thing that I could see kind of struggling to break out if it didn't have a big name publisher behind it. I'm sure they wouldn't have struggled elsewhere, but I'm glad it does, and I'm glad that they're not restricting it. It's just, to everyone. So once The Outer Worlds was done, then we got in to some of the other stuff. The next big thing that I noted down, I don't think I've missed anything, was the big Star Wars trailer for Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Which apparently looked better than it did last night on EA's stage.
Yeah, so the thing is, the last trailer they showed was very much kind of not any story, not any kind of cinematic quality.
It was pretty much pure gameplay.
Yeah, it's pure gameplay, and the gameplay looked mixed, I'd say.
Okay.
But my opinion's always the same with these, and it's the same with kind of Uncharted and that kind of. It feels very similar kind of vein. Is that if you can make it up in the story, you know? If the gameplay's okay, as long as the story is good, then we're happy. If neither's good... But this kind of suggested that it is going to be good, so I'm maybe back interested in that game again.
Yeah, I thought I particularly loved the trailer. It's I'm a big old Star Wars fan, and this spoke to what I want out of Star Wars and out of a Star Wars game. I was in love with it. That being said, I heard nothing but bad things from the show last night that you guys did watch, and I didn't. And I can see where those criticisms were coming from. The graphics did look quite soft. The world didn't look as fleshed out as I would have liked. It certainly had a very nice Star Wars look to it. But it didn't make me stop and think, wow. Like, the first trailer for Battlefront, when they came out, I remember them making such a big thing of, you know, the passion and love they were pouring into making the world. And when it came out, the game was crap, but the world was so beautifully realised. And I wonder if maybe it's going to be the reverse here, in which the world isn't realised, but the game itself might have a bit more promise.
Yeah, I think they're going for a much more narrow view with this one. In sort of the same way Force Unleashed did it. It's a very narrative-driven... I remember yesterday at the EA conference, they were talking a lot about... mentioned about 4 or 5 times the fact that it's canon.
Oh, right.
And I think that's a big deal with this one. It's possibly the first Star Wars game that's been canon.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's not a fact, don't quote me on it, but I think that might be true.
Well... So it's the first game since Disney that's canon.
Oh, okay.
They were... The extended universe used to be canon and they changed it. But, yeah, whatever. It's not
yeah, I really enjoyed the trailer. Rogue One is awesome. So, yeah, all in on that. Next up, we got Cyberpunk. This fucking game looks so good.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It looks so good. The demo looked incredible. As things go, the demo was a little bit basic. Like, it was a bit point A to point B to point C.
But we have seen a lot of it in the past, though.
Yeah. I was about to say, I suppose we've been spoiled by a 48-minute demo before, whereas this was just 10 minutes here. But that being said, the world looks vibrant. There's still a swear word every other word in the dialogue that was awkwardly bleeped here.
What's it? You can dismember, you can stab people in the gut. But you can't swear. Come on,
exactly.
Kids are around, all right?
I will say I'm one of the things I'm really, really looking forward to with that game is how it's kind of embracing that much darker tone. I'm all in on the idea of like a proper Game of Thrones-like adult story. I want a lot of gore. I want a lot of the kind of tones and themes that the original story and the original book came with, and I feel like they're working towards that here. Hard to show that, and any of that kind of, if that is the kind of gritty, nasty themes they're going for, hard to show that in an E3 demo, because obviously it's got to appeal to everyone to some extent.
Yeah, at least in on this stage, I guess. Because I think in the 48-minute trailer there is quite a bit of kind of the odd kind of brutal kind of side of things.
Oh yeah. Like it's from that trailer for sure. You got a much a better look at the kind of vibe of the city.
Yeah.
The violence is for sure there. The dialogue could use some work. But then, as well as that, like the discussion of stuff like drugs and body modification and sex and those things and how they make this city, I think, is going to be a really important part of it.
And
I look forward to see them doing it properly. So next up, we got a sizzle reel for Xbox Game Pass. There are a couple of really cool looking indie things here, but the biggest reveal from all of this is that Killer Queen Black leads the way, which is really interesting because that was targeted last year as a Nintendo exclusive, and now it's day and day Nintendo and Games Pass, from what I can see.
Well, so was this the Killer Queen?
Yeah, so Killer Queen Black, for anyone who doesn't know, is it's an arcade machine where it's kind of like Nidhogg or one of those kind of 4 people on screen at once.
Hey.
Yeah. 4 people on screen at once, each trying to kill each other. One of those kind of games. Party style in that sense. But it's objective based rather than just pure killing. So it's kind of a deathmatch, kind of an objective based game and kind of something else. And you have to have 4 people to play it. You can't play against AI. It can't be 2 because of those objectives.
Oh, I'm never playing this game. I have no friends.
So last year the announcement for Switch was huge because of the kind of all those people at once playing, but it seems like they're going to make it work online as well. It seems really cool, and it's interesting that it's day and date on Xbox as well. Then they announced Game Pass for PC, which seems really cool. They've all submitted.
Yep.
Yeah, well done, man. So they've it's a totally different subscription. It's not the same thing as Game Pass on console, which I think is a bit dumb. But it is tied into Game Pass Ultimate, so if you get one, you get both, which is cool. I think it might hurt the sale of both at first, but probably be better for the life of it overall. They had a bunch of PC kind of specific, I guess is the word, games that they've targeted for Game Pass. So Flight Simulator was announced with it, which looked stunning. A 4K new flight simulator powered by Azure. That's one of the games. Was it Total War?
No, Age of Empires 2.
Age of Empires. Sorry, no, that was the thing afterwards. That was the.
There was a game
wasn't
called like Rome Iviticus or something like that.
Rome
yeah,
Iviticus,
it was,
Football Manager. We've already seen the leak of all the other stuff. So Portal Bridge Constructor is coming out. I was quite excited to hear about that coming to Xbox. It turns out it's not. It's just on the PC Game Pass. It's kind of a shame. So that was detailed. All part of Xbox Ultimate. So if you have the Ultimate subscription, you've got it already. If you don't, you don't, and you kind of have to decide where you go with it. But fair dues. And then Flight Simulator was announced. Kind of annoying that the biggest takeaway from this show is that I want to play Flight Simulator.
It looked absolutely.
It
epic.
looked awesome.
Did look cool.
I was hoping to want to play more things than that, but hey, that's good. So that was all done. What is Game Pass now a better deal than it was before?
I can see why they've done it from a business point of view. So instead of my initial obviously thought that what they were going to do with Game Pass was the whole your current Game Pass subscription is now going to be spread across all these platforms. You're getting great value for money, and this point I was always like, how are they doing this and having a business? Like, this is insane. Yeah. I now get how that £15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate. You get it on both. That's all well and good. I see that they have to have those exclusive games on PC, otherwise you're choosing one or the other.
Yeah.
You need a reason to sell it.
Yeah, I hear you.
And the kind of games they were like games that control better on PC. It wasn't a typical excuse of like, oh well, you're going to get better graphics on PC, or you can only pull off this kind of multiplayer on PC. It was Age of Empires is an RTS traditionally known to go on PC. Football Manager is traditionally a PC game. Flight sims, like, come on, that is that is the PC area of the gaming market. So. They haven't just done it for the sake of doing it.
Oh no, I hear you with that, and I suppose a curated list is probably the best way to go forward. Like, just having all the same shit on all the same platforms, I imagine would lead to a very, very messy situation.
Yeah,
but it would have what gets me is that they've always spoken about Game Pass breaking down the barriers of platform, and it's kind of a shame that it's not, but for the right reasons. Like, it's not going to break down any barriers here. If you are a PC gamer, you're going to continue playing PC games. It's just the way you access them. I would have what I look forward to with xCloud and what they talked about later. Is the ability to sort of go, all right, well, I feel like playing this game today, but I only have an Android and a controller on me. That will still work.
Yeah.
And I do hope that's what the future of it becomes. I didn't get that vibe from it this time. If this is the way they launch these services and they need that to push it out the gate, then they kind of tailor it all in together later. That again, businessly makes a lot of sense. Businessly is not a word, but it is now.
It can be.
Then we got Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition.
Oh,
my childhood personified.
This is your thing here.
Yeah,
so,
that were, so when it first came up, I was like, "Holy shit! No! They're not doing a new Age of Empires game. Surely I will die." And then when it was announced to actually be Age of Empires 2, I don't know if I was happier or not.
I mean, you were buzzing and sort of.
But yeah, like my initial reaction was,
Happy was definitely...
yeah. Like I was in shock. My initial reaction was, "It's a new Age of Empires game.
Yeah.
This is going to be sick." And then when I found out it was like, no, they're remastering Age of Empires 2 in 4K. I'm no worse off from that. Like that.
Yeah.
That's equally good news, I guess.
Yeah, you get an awesome thing to experience. It's just not quite what you had in mind
but
initially.
It's still good. I mean, I haven't played it in probably 15 years, close to. But it makes me wonder why they've chose that. I mean, it was the most successful one of the franchise.
Yeah, I've got to imagine it's pure name recognition.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I've played a few of those kind of games. I've played a few Civ games, and if you said name 3 of them, I'd say Civ 6, Free Civ, and Age of Empires 2. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's a good thing. Then they did another thing. We're not going to talk about that yet because for reasons. Then we got the first of what seemed to be many Lego games. So we got Lego, the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just patching 3 games together and selling it again.
I mean, they'll have to do stuff for The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker this year.
Are they not? Are they not already games?
No.
They're
So
not?
there's
Oh,
no.
okay.
They did one for The Last Jedi, and then they didn't.
Oh, that
do...
wasn't like a trilogy thing.
No.
Okay, I see.
So there is 2 new games in this, which is fairly cool. But yeah, I know what you mean. I hope they do something to bring the old ones up to scratch.
Yeah, that's true. So I actually recently picked up. Well, I say picked up. I got it off Game Pass. Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, the original trilogy one.
Yeah.
What was it? The complete saga. I think they called it.
Yeah, it was.
Which is no longer the complete saga. But
That's
cool.
1 through 6, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So I started playing that again on Game Pass, which is through Xbox 360, and it still holds up quite well, actually.
All right.
So I'm one of these people, I can't go back and play old games. As much as I want to, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I've picked that up and it's going pretty well, but whilst playing it, I was like, it'd be nice if it had a better FPS and
Yeah.
a little bit sharper. But
I hope they give it that treatment, not so that. Not because they have to, really. It's a Lego game. You know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But just because I imagine if you haven't played the others, you'll probably start with Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. If you were a young kid picking this up for the first time,
if you're wrong,
I can't imagine that playing those and then being like, well, I wonder what the Phantom Menace is like. You're not going to carry on with those games afterwards. So, yeah, it's a cool idea, and I'm glad they're doing it. The Lego games, they're the same, but they're consistently the same and good.
and
when
they are
innovate.
consistently good.
Oh, yeah, for
Like
sure.
there's not a bad Lego Star Wars game.
Next up is the first of the super Japanese trailers, and it was to Project Dragon Ball X something else that turned out to be Dragon Ball
just
quit. Kakarot.
Just quit.
Oh, just quit.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm not a huge Dragon Ball fan. I am a Dragon Ball fan, and I've got friends that are super into this, and I've got one friend in particular that buys all of them, and through him, I'm able to play them also. And it's just the same game to me every time. Like the graphics, I mean, you can't really improve the graphics. It's a cel-shaded game that quite basically cel-shaded as well. You can't improve it much more than it already is, and doesn't seem to improve much more. Borderlands is like it's a special case of cel-shaded game. But yeah, I mean, they can't improve the graphics much more. It's the same story.
Yeah.
Maybe this. By the look of it, it's a story run game again. It looks like we're going to see this story run further than the other games, but they always start from the start again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now we're going to start from the start and go through the 7 sagas that we have. Because we saw that really cool space battle. We're going to start seeing like Goku Ultra Instinct, which is like the newest stuff. But we'll see.
Never got that far, to be honest.
Yeah, I tuned out before it even
I watched
got
the
started.
first sort of 100 episodes, and then it's like, what's it, Saga 2?
Yeah.
So it's...
I'm just skipping up my friends. That's all. It's good there. I actually went to see the film as well. Best experience at
I
the
remember.
cinema. It was so good.
Next up, we had actually one of the coolest looking games that came out of the conference from an indie is 12 Minutes.
Yes.
Annapurna Entertainment. It looks kind of like a mashup of PT and Groundhog Day. It's one person trapped inside one room, reliving the same day over and over and over again.
Controversial opinion. I'm not usually into the arty game shit, but this one looks cool. Like I feel like
Nathan Jewell of a game development background. ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen.
Yeah, to be fair, I've made shitloads of them as well. That's the problem. Every game jam is like, what heartstring can we pull on to win this competition? Let's make a game about X, B, or Y. Yeah, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
As a counter, I love artsy game shit. And
We're a good mixed panel then.
I think it looked cool. I think it really looks kind of an exciting concept, different concept. They didn't really show how it's going to play, if it's kind of could just be choice based and we kind of watch scenes, or it could be more than that. It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's where it kind of went a little bit downhill for me. Was there was one line of the script that was sort of like it's a narrative game, something which makes it sound like it's going to be like a point and click Telltale game. How cool would it be if the game was, you're in this room, you're in this house, and there's just like, they've programmed hundreds of possibilities of things for you to do, and you can play through all of them. Like, there's no end to the game. The goal of the game is to play through all of the scenarios.
Yeah,
it's the same result every time. You're going to end up dead. You don't know that until you've completed the 6,000th scenario, and you just go, "Fuck this game, fuck it." And then a year later, they released the DLC. 12 minutes and 1 second.
There is one. I did skip over one vital announcement in all of this. Is that Keanu Reeves is in Cyberpunk, and Keanu Reeves was on stage.
Oh.
And it was great. It was one of the best 5 minutes of this show.
I think it's a highlight.
I have a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Did this game need a gimmick?
I don't feel less about it having it.
Yeah, I guess that's my take.
I mean, like, Crackdown was sort of like, it was falling off people's radars, so they threw Terry Crews in. Like, we've seen it happen with games that have been off the radar a bit too long, and they want to bring it back to make it more relevant to a modern audience. Cyberpunk is already lit, like it's hyped like to no end. It's like, oh, Keanu Reeves is cool. He likes dogs. Throw him in there.
I get the take, but so I'm very into kind of Sony's games, and I guess Death Stranding is a good example of what I'm going to talk about. Is like kind of merging films and games and having kind of good actors in games. I don't think it's something we should complain about.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
I mean, then again, good actors, but
and I
that's
think
a separate thing.
It really highlights some of the modern face scan technology, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're doing it more and more. It's because, like, I'm sorry, but that was Keanu Reeves. Like, it wasn't a model of Keanu Reeves. He was in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
It looked so good. And I think that's one of the reasons why more developers, more studios want to do this.
It's actually John Wick.
Well, is it though? He didn't announce himself as John Wick. I wish it was.
I get what you mean in that it didn't need it, but I don't feel like it's going to be worse off. I don't feel like it's Terry Crews where he's going to have a small part to play. I feel like using an actor for what they're good at in these worlds, like Cyberpunk is going to be one of the most cinematic games to come out. I don't have a problem with merging it with a piece of cinema. If it was something like, if he now turns up in every one of the trailers like Terry Crews does, if he's shouting "Woo!" on everything, then yeah, that's taking the piss. But at the minute, I thought it was fairly well done. E3 just has to have a bit of a celebrity gimmick.
Yeah.
Next up was Way to the Woods, which was that cool "You're a Deer."
Yeah,
being a deer.
I look nice.
Yeah.
It was one of those artsy thingy games. It's not. It's when I said I don't like these games, and just games I won't play.
Yeah,
But they look good. Like I'd happily watch someone else play it or watch it on YouTube or something.
There was a lot of deers this year. A lot of deers.
Yeah. What's called a blind deer? No idea. Bam, bam, bam.
He won't be on the others, don't worry. Cool. So next up, we got the crossover everyone wanted this year: Gears 5 and Billie Eilish.
I was a fan.
Yeah, I like the trailer. That's kind of all we got.
Yeah.
Then they dropped the camera off into the bottom of the stage, and it was set up like a nest in Gears 5 to show off a mode of Gears 5 multiplayer. And then
Which they then didn't show off
yeah,
at E3.
and then if you pre-order it, you get a Terminator skin. Oh, I feel like this is such a perfect microcosm of this conference. They had the opportunity to capitalize on what they did last year, show this super tight, well-polished Gears 5 story thing. We're taking depth in this. We're showing you the future. And instead, they were like, "Fuck it, let's put some tentacles everywhere."
Yeah.
Touching on the Terminator skin, though, I've got a question for both of you. Did this game need a gimmick?
No, it didn't.
Why? And it's not an
Yeah.
actor this time. You can't fuck me up with that
No.
one.
That's a full
Is
face
that-
scan of
is that-
Arnie.
is that
That's
the-
what he really
is that
looks
the
like.
actual Terminator from the
Yeah,
Terminator?
yeah.
It is,
Wow.
it is.
Has he come back in time to do this show?
Mr. Minator.
But no, I agree completely with you. It's kind of last year, Microsoft got a little bit of praise for just kind of the way they showed off Halo and the way they showed off Gears.
Yeah.
And this year they didn't capitalize on any of that.
No, not in the slightest.
I should say they are offering a separate stream to watch the Gears gameplay.
Yeah, but like if you're tuning into an hour and 30 minutes of
Yeah.
they don't even have any competition. This is what gets me is they don't need to do this stream because nobody is watching that stream. If PlayStation were there, you guarantee that stream would be on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But the second that Sony stopped showing up, it's like, well, fuck it, we don't need to either.
Yeah, I
Like
get what you mean.
we'll get more into it in a minute. We're going to sound super negative on it for a bit. Bear with me. So yeah, then we got more. Then we got a bit of Gears Pop, which
Buy it now, guys.
So,
Game of the year.
are either of you into pop vinyl figures?
no, not in the
No.
slightest.
No. No, me neither. No. So, I have a huge collection. My entire bedroom wall is of pop vinyls. Last year, when I saw, right, guys, Gears of War pop vinyl. Now, I'm kind of a Gears fan. I'm here nor there. I play them all. They're good. You know, whatever. But when they said pop vinyl, I was like, yes, we're gonna see. As a fan of pop vinyls, I'm gonna see a series of games like Lego have done. But in pop vinyl, I was like, yeah, give me it all.
Yeah, I can see that
Give me Lord of the Rings pop vinyl. Give me Star Wars pop vinyl.
Yeah.
Give me Game of Thrones pop vinyl game. Like, and then it turns out it's a mobile game that from gameplay you can't even tell it's a pop vinyl game.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of reminded me of the kind of what's the studio called? Is it Supercell? Who do what did they do now? Something Royale, Battle Royale, Rumble Royale.
Clash Royale?
Clash Royale.
Yeah.
I think.
That's the one. Yeah. It kind of looked a bit like that. Like I have my side of the table, you have your side of the table. I'm going to send my things to fight you. You're going to send your things
Yeah.
to fight
Yeah.
me. They're going to clash.
Yeah.
It's that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Not the best.
Next up was the second Pro controller. It didn't display very well, but it actually has some really cool features. So it's carry cases, it's charging dock. You sit it in there to charge it wirelessly. It's now got 3 controlling modes instead of 2. 3 hair triggers, 3 profiles. The sticks are adjustable, and hopefully it won't break after you use it twice. So that's out, but they said pre-orders. There was no mention of when it comes out or pricing.
You can give someone all the adjustments they want on the controller. They still won't beat me.
Talks a big game.
As he sits here in his Apex Legends t-shirt after not playing Apex Legends for a month.
Next up was Dying Light.
Yeah.
Really cool trailer. Didn't show us much more of the game than we thought already.
No. I don't think we saw much in terms of gameplay, but we saw.
It was very
stuff.
typical CGI trailer. It focused on
Yeah.
the character, focused a little bit on the story. We got a nice bit of voice acting. Tech looked really lovely. Comes out next year. I put here early 2020. I think it was spring 2020 is what was said. But yeah, looks a bloody solid trailer for a bloody solid looking game. Real cool. Then we got Forza Lego 4.
Forza Lego.
I'm on board. I'm on board.
I love Forza. The Forza Horizon are amazing games. They play fantastically well. I like everything that Lego does. I can't see this being anything less than good. I don't know why it exists.
Yeah.
But I can't see it being anything less than good.
Yeah, so I took two things from that, actually. One being, it seems like the kind of thing you do when your game's at the end of its life. It's like, yeah, we're reaching the end, let's just throw this in. Cause I can't imagine like another year of content on top of Lego. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring in this whole new part of the map and new cars to go along with your Lego cars. Like, thanks for that.
The other thing is, so the big reason that they've done this is because they then stagger the Forza series, so the next console launches with a motorsport title, which is typically the way that you launch console, right?
Yeah.
You put a driving game out front. There's been a rumor for a long while that there's a third branch of Forza that they have or are working
Lego
on.
Forza. I'd happily see a full-on Lego Forza game.
Yeah.
Do either of you ever play or hear of a game on the N64 years ago called Lego Racers?
Yes.
Yeah, like a Mario Kart style. I mean, back on the N64, this was big stuff. You could literally make a car.
Yeah.
Like back then, that was insane. Like that level of customizability. Give me that.
Yeah.
In Forza, let me make my own Lego car and then race my friends. Like with Game Engine these days, they can even use AI to do the whole aerodynamics of the car and all sorts of just do it on the fly. They do it on the fly anyway. They don't program the aerodynamics of every single car. They throw the model in. They run it through their simulator, and it should match up to the data that they get in real life. That's how it works. So they could do it with Lego cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the State of Decay 2 expansion, which is cool. Then Super Japanese trailer number 2 goes to Phantasy Star Online.
Oh, it's gonna be a mess. In a good way, it's gonna be a hot mess.
Okay.
So I remember the last time Phantasy Star was on Xbox. It was an Xbox 360 game. It was actually free to play, and then sorry, there was a free demo that was like a pretty decent demo that you played endlessly. That was multiplayer, and then there was like a silly subscription you had to pay on top that you wanted to play the real game. But it was just like the community on it was just hilarious because it was free. There's just people just trying to scam each other left, right, and centre. I had a friend that was pretending to be a female and was like, he was absolutely just in the demo of the game was stupidly rich because he was just saying, he was like selling voice messages of him pretending to be a girl. It just, I mean,
Incredible.
If we can finally get like a decent MMO experience onto, I'm not a fan of MMOs myself, but I realise there's an audience there for it.
Yeah.
I think Black Desert's trying to do it recently, but I think this is its third launch now. Like,
Yeah.
I get that it's beautiful and they're throwing money into it, but nah, not working.
So then we got, what was it, Crossfire X, which is the sequel to one of the biggest MMOs of all time, Crossfire, though none of us had
No one's ever
particularly heard of it. I get
no one in the audience heard of it either.
I get the
I
feeling.
heard a whoop.
I get the feeling it's targeting a slightly more Eastern audience because Western MMOs tend to be more fancy-based, more kind of sci-fi-y, whereas MMOs more generally around the world have a slightly wider demographic, so I wonder if maybe this is going for a wider target. It looked cool. The trailer looked fine. And it's coming next year, I believe. And speaking of things that are coming next year, we got the big "this is your end of the conference" moment. Xbox announced officially Project Scarlet. They announced that it is going to be made with AMD, comes out next year around Christmas. All its title is at the minute is Project Scarlet. It's got an SSD in it. It's targeting 8K at the top end and quite a number of frames, although I'm not going to say 100 frames a second because I highly doubt it. It seems to be doing bits. So fine.
That's literally all there is to say on it, right? I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed on that front. So all the way through that console conference, I've been sitting there thinking, yeah, the game places actually. maybe now's the time to get an Xbox One X.
Yeah.
And then the end of it's like, yeah, well, actually, there's one coming next year. And I'm like, guess I'll wait then. Okay.
They also announced some stuff with xCloud that was really cool. So it seems like xCloud comes out in October. Very good.
So excited.
The interesting thing that we took away from it was that with xCloud, your Xbox is going to become a home server for it.
Yeah.
So it seems like what's going to happen is it will put out a network or some kind of connection. You log into that connection. It then streams to your device over Wi-Fi, I'm assuming.
It's going to be like a Steam Link on steroids.
Yeah, like very much like the kind of sidecar app that Apple just announced for the iPads or the Xbox Companion streaming app that they've had on Windows for a long while. I imagine it will be whatever is supported will have an app. You log into that.
Yeah,
app,
that was an interesting point. They still didn't say what devices it would be for.
Yeah.
At all. Like, not even one confirmed. At all. Like, they didn't even say you could stream it on a laptop or PC. They didn't even go that far.
I wonder if maybe they're not doing that because it'll have some kind of browser option. We know that Stadia works through the browser, so it's possible.
How does that business...
That'd be
I've only just dawned on me after having this conversation. How does
Yeah.
that business plan work? So, let's say, I mentioned just a second ago, play it on your computer or laptop. So, why, if I can stream every game from my Xbox to my PC or laptop, would I want to pay the extra money for Game Pass on my PC or laptop?
Because if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you have all of those games.
Yeah.
And if you have one version of Game Pass, you have some of them.
Exclusives.
The other version of Game Pass, you have others of them, but not ubiquity. It's like the Spotify model, right? You get Spotify free until you're like, man, these adverts are driving me up the fucking wall. I'll give it my free trial. You give it your free trial and go, oh yeah, it's actually really nice to have all these albums, all this choice, all this ubiquity, no ads. And then the idea of switching back is a deterrent rather than a reason. It's have all these games that we're putting on Game Pass, come and join the launch of all these things. You want to stream it everywhere, that's really cool. They'll probably do a bundle where xCloud, Ultimate and Gold is £25-30 a month. And that's all one thing. But the second you try to drop it, it's like, oh, you want to go back to that dusty old box in the corner?
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, there's your discs. Nowhere sells them anymore because we've been doing streaming services for a few years now.
Yeah.
Like, it's the death of the media rather than the need for it. Although there is a need for it.
Okay, so let's say I have xCloud and I have my Xbox console Game Pass,
Yeah.
right? I'm sitting at my computer. I can stream my Xbox One console Game Pass to my PC. So what? I'm just missing out on the 3 or 4 games that they're currently offering for the PC Game Pass?
Well, yeah, but the other way to think about it is like that's all you have access to. Because you can buy a game on your PC to stream then through xCloud to do that. But if that game is on Game Pass, like I've used Game Pass to play Crackdown because I didn't want to buy Crackdown.
Yeah.
I will use it to play Sea of Thieves if I ever do. I might use it for Gears or something else. And that's where the hook is you can spend £50 or you can log into the service for as long as you want. And the question then is like, let's say Age of Empires 2, right? The definitive edition comes out on Xbox Game Pass. It looks amazing. You don't have a PC that can run it or you want to run it on a commute. So you go, right, fuck it, I'll log into Game Pass for PC, I'll download it onto the Switch. But then the point at which they've hooked you is not the point at which you bought it, but the point at which you consider dropping the subscription.
Yeah. I think it depends on devices. And because, like,
Yeah,
as I said to mention to you, Sony has the same feature, but on PC. You can play PC games. So
Yeah.
you play your PS4 game, use it as a server, connect to it from your PC. I can do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing that you can do. It's part of their normal subscription.
Okay.
So it's entirely possible that xCloud will just be part of like Gold. It doesn't necessarily need to be a separate subscription. I don't think it's that heavy on them.
I mean, I get the feeling it will be for 2 reasons. One, because they can.
Yeah,
because the opportunity
true.
to monetize it is there, and if they're not selling games, like you can't afford to make a Crackdown off the price of everyone but getting Game Pass for £1. Like that,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
doesn't support that industry. And the other reason, and the reason I'm so skeptical of what you're saying, is because if that is the case, why the fuck is Sony paying for Microsoft to support Azure on PlayStation?
It's
I'm
not that heavy a feature.
I'm
Right.
not doubting that it can be done. I'm just doubting that it can be done with latency well enough.
Wow, that's a different thing.
But I mean, it literally isn't. That's like saying,
Like, you're still going to have that same problem with your xCloud, Xbox as a server problem. Like, you're still going to have latency issues.
yeah,
and
but that's the technology they're developing, though, isn't it? Is the latency, is the infrastructure and back end?
I don't know.
Minimize
I think
that.
when you connect to their servers, sure, but if you're using your box as a server, there's no way they can like enhance the stream mid-flight and as it comes to you.
No. Sorry, I see what you mean. What I mean is, xCloud itself is a separate technology. It's not whatever it is. The software is not built into an Xbox right now, right? That's going to have to be patched in and brought to it. The ability for the software and hardware to do that does not currently exist. So whatever they are developing to minimize the impact of that, whether it is low latency solutions or whether it's just making the most of the network it's currently on and accessing to, that's what's going to allow these technologies to exist and permeate well in the future. If it could be done now, as well as if PlayStation could do it now, Stadia would not be a competitor to it. And they would have been talking about it earlier.
I mean, like the stuff Stadia, stuff Stadia is going to do existed like 15 years ago.
On live.
On live.
Doing it.
But
It happened.
Yeah, but not sustainably. Like, there's a reason On Live is dead.
Because, so...
It wasn't a
I would
multi-million
argue.
company for a start. That's one of the reasons.
Sorry?
It wasn't a multi-million pound company.
I mean, it was bought by Sony?
Don't
No,
know.
they bought Gaikai,
Yeah,
didn't they?
Gaikai. I mean, like, I would argue this. Not many people use that feature from Sony. I don't think it's actually that popular a thing. The streaming service is more about getting quality to games, getting access to games, than it is like the streaming, you know. Because like, you know, like the thing with PlayStation Now is everyone's wanting the download, not the you know, people want the games to be downloaded as opposed to just be streamed.
Yeah.
This is a Stadia thing, really, but like, I just don't know whether the actual streaming service as a future is that. Well, especially if we all get gigabit lines, it's going to be that much of an issue.
I'd still rather have my games downloaded, personally.
Yeah.
Well, I think like Apex would be like fucked.
Yeah, like,
You
like on PC, like just things like having low batteries in your wireless mouse can make a difference to winning or losing. Like, imagine having a slow internet for 30 seconds and you die in Apex. Like,
It doesn't even need to be 30 seconds. It's like...
yeah, like one packet needs to be missing,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
One frame of jitter and you can be dead. Like that's what you're playing with.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time. People are getting their hands on xCloud at the show this evening, so hopefully we'll have some kind of thoughts and think pieces coming out of it and seeing how well it does. The rumor mill is saying that it will give Stadia a run for its money. I should bloody hope so after all of this. Then the show ended with an Halo Infinite demo. Not a demo, it was a trailer. Seemed very nice. The graphical quality was very nice, I will say. The smoke effects, the surfaces, the metal surfaces were lovely. The character models looked very nice. Master Chief had a real sheen to him. A much more story-focused trailer than last year. It wasn't about the world so much as it was about where we are now, where the story's taken us and how we've got there, and what it all looks like and how it all plays. It was fine.
Yeah,
It was absolutely fine.
I think Halo's one of the things that they just don't have to sell, and they know it. Probably the same with what they did with Gears. It was like, look, this is a tried and tested game. It's here it is. Have a taste ish.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if that was true, like we'd have heard. Well, so none of us here have played Halo 5, right?
No.
You know, and I feel like if that was like, but has everyone here played Halo 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I feel like if that was the case, I don't think it is as much the case anymore.
Yeah, true. But I mean, obviously, we don't know what market research they've done, but but I can imagine that if they did market research and they sent it out and they went, "Well, are you a Halo fan?" I'd say yes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I haven't played properly in several years. But I'd still say yes. Would you play the next Halo game? I'd say yes, even though there's possibly I wouldn't. You know, it's one of those franchises where it's a bandwagon. You're on it or you're not, and you can say you love it even if you haven't played it for 10 years.
Yeah.
The only reason I play devil's advocate with all of this is, did that trailer make you want to pick up this game?
No, it didn't.
And with that being the case, if you haven't played 5, if you're not likely to play the next one based on this, it might not necessarily be that they don't need to market it now. It might need to be that they might need to continue marketing it for those times in the future where the fan base does drop off. It's it's a kind of war of escalation of, like, you become the best game, so you don't market the best game, so you stop being the best game anymore. And it's a cycle in that sense. You have to be careful with how much you saturate the market, but you also have to be careful with not saturating it at all. And I feel like this conference is a very good example of not enough saturation. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of a lot of stuff shown with very little depth to any of it, really. There was a lot of stuff talked about and a lot of promises made, and I didn't feel like we came away any richer for it. The big announcement from the show was they fucking bought Double Fine. Like, they own Double Fine. That's mental. And I still don't feel like I have any reason to pick up a console. They literally announced a next generation device that they've already announced. This is not like Scorpio. Like, this isn't the first time we've heard about this console. We didn't think it wasn't coming. It wasn't a case of, like, they shouldn't have been treating this like a first time reveal. This should have either been all in on Xbox One, let's give you the super great last reasons to own this console before next year, or fuck it, thing's dead, here's what we're working on. Like, we know Fable is happening. We know that Mojang is, we think anyway, that Mojang is 2 teams. We know that Rare is 2 teams. There is a new Banjo game is being rumored pretty heavily. Where have they been for years now? And they can't keep doing that.
Yeah, right you are, to be honest. Like, I think, for me, it's just, there wasn't any substance to this conference.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of CG. I think as we mentioned in the beginning, in terms of gameplay, we saw, like, some indies, but we didn't really see anything from big names. And like for me, that Halo trailer kind of encapsulated it in some way, where like it was a good trailer, as you say, but then, you know, it started going and he was opening the doors and he was about to see, like, the world and, like, start fighting, and I was like, if you just showed a little bit more, then maybe I'd be more behind it, you know.
Yeah.
There's a great trailer that I can't remember off the top of my head, where it does something like that, where it's like, you kind of expect it to end, and then it shows you, like, okay, now you're in the game.
I know exactly the one you're thinking of, and I think it's a Sony one. I think it might be Horizon.
Could be.
First time they showed that off, I feel like they did a zoom around the world. Here's your playable character, and then the character just walked.
Yeah,
off,
okay, no, it could be.
That was man, I don't know. Everyone has said the consensus around everything has been, this is Microsoft's year to lose, and it's been their year to lose for a number of years now. But Sony is not here. The focus was on them to steal E3, and this wouldn't have stolen E3 in a regular year. So it was solid. There was nothing bad about it. Everything that they showed looked pretty good. I'm pretty happy to keep playing my games and stuff.
They had a Lego car.
Yeah,
they had a car. They did have a car.
Yeah, like I'm literally downloading, and the second we publish this, about to go and play a game on my Xbox again. I'm no worse off than I was before, but they are closer to losing a lot of their market share, I think, by not keeping up, or at least looking like they're keeping up with Sony. Even if it is happening in the background, even if they are building a better infrastructure for the future than we've seen them do before. You know, they have so many more studios now. They have this, that, the other. But the problem is not that they're building it in private. The problem is that they need to be building it publicly, because there's more of a need to trade on that kind of shit now. Although I suppose with xCloud and that business model and that infrastructure, they're still not going anywhere anytime soon. It's just how do they maintain and keep positive that mind share that they've had for a long while.
What I'm taking away from this is in terms of the whole thing, I don't think I know anything new.
Yeah.
And I think that might be part to do with the perception shift we should be having towards E3. Whereas, so we're in a more technological, social networking, lifestyle, I guess, now, where we can got faster access to this sort of stuff, and I think people prefer to have it leak throughout the year, and as opposed to consoles going silent for a year until the next E3. So I kind of feel like it's becoming, instead of E3 being the reveal day, it's the reveal of what reveals are to come. So
Yeah.
we're going to show you some CGI stuff of things that are coming. But in about 6 months, you'll see a gameplay trailer for this. Look forward to it. And I don't think I'm bothered by that. Like, so me and Cam in the office, how often is it like you just throw your headset off? You're like, oh my god, this has just leaked. This has just dropped, and it's like that's what keeps the news alive about the console and about just games in general. I guess is just not knowing when it's gonna drop.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And you're right in that, you think about the games that have had the biggest impact over the last 2 years in the wider gaming space. Something like Apex is a game that was silent until a random week in February, and then it was in our hands and it reached its height because of that. Fortnite is another perfect example. But I do... That space is moving in that direction, but I do think there is still a traditional space, and I think, ironically, after all of this, Sony is a perfect example of why. You look at what they did last year, where they didn't do a conference, right? They effectively did 3 mini dress-up parties, where instead of having a show like this, instead of having the reveals of, oh, wow, boom, it was, okay, let's walk around a church, let's walk around a random fucking grass field in Japan.
They got slated for it, right?
Well, so they did, but it's...
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
I do have a point to make from that.
It's more just that, like, I think their show last year was very much like a people there focus show.
Yeah.
So to people there, it's like, oh, amazing, we're in this church. We need to then walk to the next room, and it's something else, and that's the main conference, and it's. But like to people watching, it was kind of
No, it was awkward for sure. It was stilted for sure.
Yeah.
But if I asked you now, if we put 4 games on the table, Gears 5, Halo Infinite, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, which 2 are you picking up? You're probably not picking up Halo and Gears. Not because they're bad games, not because they play badly. I mean, they're Halo and Gears. They'll play great, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But because there's a marketing machine behind this, and the marketing machine at Sony know that E3 doesn't need to be about, big fancy new multiplayer reveals. That Bleeding Edge game from Ninja Theory would have been a perfect example for that kind of, oh, there's a stream tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, the game's out in your hand. That would have been perfect for that. But these deeper, more hardcore, more engaging, story-driven games do need that kind of that build and that love by them, because you're not gonna pick up Ghost of Tsushima in the same way you pick up Apex. You're not gonna play them in the same way, and there's a shift at the minute away from E3, and obviously we're seeing that this year more than ever. But I do think it will shift back, especially as the console generation is kind of started again and set in its ways. When people are looking for that substance of what they bought it for, looking to confirm those purchases, I do think we'll sort of see it swing back to look at all of this shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a solid show. It was not what they needed, and it was a stilted start.
Yeah, I was really hoping this would be the one where I'm kind of like, okay, cool, I'm gonna buy the next Xbox, or I'm gonna. And I'm still in the same place that I normally am. I'm not, rushing out now.
We say it every year, but maybe next year will be the one,
Yeah, I'm still invested. I'm still looking forward to xCloud, but I just wish I knew more. I mean, to be honest, I'm not even researching that much stuff these days for games. Like, it's just happening upon me. I haven't gone out my way to look up xCloud stuff. Yeah, I still already knew everything they'd said there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty bad. Like, it's just stuff that pops up on your news feed. You're like, you just read the title, xCloud's doing this. Okay, cool. Keep going, and that's all. They gave me prices today. That's all. That's the only new thing I now have is the price. The price.
So that was that then. That was that. Not the best of starts, not the worst of starts either. I know. We'll see how it keeps going. I guess now the ball is in the court of Square and Ubisoft. Probably. I guess the ball's in the court of Nintendo. To be honest, they could come out pretty heavy out of E3 this year.
I'm looking forward to Beth Esda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
we'll
to see what they bring to the table.
Yeah. I'm hoping this time we get to see 40 seconds of a new Elder Scrolls game.
Do you think they'll have Andrew WK playing in Doom again?
Please.
I just hope that Keanu Reeves has like double crossed Xbox and he's like, I'm in Elder Scrolls now, bitches. This is my dog.
Every one of these shows, Keanu Reeves turns up, and in the Nintendo one, he's like, Nintendo approached me a few years ago about this game, Animal Crossing. All right,
they put me in it. Look at me, I'm a fox.
All right, that was that. Thank you very much for listening to it. We still have a bunch more content to come out as these E3 conferences keep happening. If you are interested, you will find them all on YouTube. If you're hearing this because of the World Geekly News article, go back and find and look at that, and we'll update it as everyone comes out. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, this is the only one we're putting on those services because we can't afford to host all of them, unfortunately. So we're just going to host the big one. If you liked this, jump over to YouTube and just stick us on in the background. You can still continue to hear all the stuff that we think of all the conferences. And that will be that. We will see you in a few hours' time for Bethesda. And until then, thanks very much. And the game is well and truly up.